Greetings, whiskey fans. This is Mark from whiskywhistle.com, bringing you whiskey review number 9. With us today, this is Caol Ila, a somewhat lesser-known Islay distillery from Scotland. So it's a Scotch whiskey, and well, we're going to be trying that out with you. This is the 12-year-old, which is 43% alcohol by volume. And well, at duty free anyway, you can pick up a 1 liter bottle, so a little bit more kick to your bottle. Anyway, before we get started, I want to thank all of you who have subscribed to Whiskey Whistle. I'm seeing a few new people every few days, and it's great to talk to you also. I've been enjoying your comments, and hopefully my responses have been welcome and maybe informational. Anyway, so thank you so much again for subscribing. All right, now we're going to go in reverse order today. I'm going to start out with the tasting notes, and then we'll get into a little bit about the history of this interesting distillery. Okay, so let's have a look at the bottle first. Slightly smoky bottle, and again, as I think I mentioned before, when the bottle is something other than just clear glass, the distillery does not have to put as much emphasis on the color of the whiskey, so that's a good thing. Anyway, very classic label. This is the standard shape of well, the classic malts whiskeys from Scotland, which is a kind of a sub-branding from the parent company known as Diageo. Anyway, so you've seen the shape before. Talisker has a very similar shape because Talisker is also from the classic malts sort of grouping of single malts from Scotland, among many others, which we'll talk about another day. Okay, classic label. Let's read what it says here, just very briefly. Caol Ila, aged 12 years, out of sight in a remote cove near Port Askaig lies Caol Ila, pardon me, hidden gem among Isla's distilleries since 1846. Not easy to find, Caol Ila's secret malt is nonetheless highly prized among devotees of the Islay style. Okay, anyway, let's crack that open. There we go. Now, I've already poured a glass, as you see there. So we're going to compare the two to see what time in the glass does. Somewhat of a short pour, but we've got 2 glasses there, so about 20 milliliters per glass. Set that back. Very snazzy box too, isn't it? But as I said, we're going to start out with the tasting today. So color-wise, well, it's quite a pale gold shade, isn't it? So what we can learn is they have not put much colorant in there. Now, in fact, I can say for certain that they have put some colorants in there, and well, I'll tell you why once we get into the second half of this whiskey review. Fairly light viscosity, 43% ABV, so you're a little bit up from the standard 40%, so that's nice. Fairly quick moving legs, but again, we don't really know what to say so much about the legs and what they really mean. But we do get some beating there on the glass, so there is a bit of oiliness to this single malt. Anyway, let's have a look at the nose. And if you're not familiar with Islay whiskies, well, two reviews ago I did Lafroig, Anyway, so that's well, was it the last one? Oops. Anyway, another Islay distillery, and the first thing you're gonna come across is this smell of this sort of a smoky, ashy sort of complex, and that's from the peat that they use to dry the malt. Anyway, what else am I smelling here? Sweet and sour ribs, oddly enough. Baby's breath flowers. That's the flower that you often smell in baby powder. So there's a slight floral note there. Anyway, the peat smoke is not so heavy. It's a little bit less powerful than Laphroaig and some of the other heavy hitters from Islay. And it's quite a complex nose with the floral notes, the sweet and sourness of it. Anyway, let's taste that. Cheers to you. Even though it's stronger than the basic 40% that the industry has set as the minimum, it's not sharp at all. So they've probably taken their time with the distillation of it, and it's sweet. It's got some dryness to it as well. Mesquite barbecue sauce. So that's an interesting sweet flavor with a bit of smokiness to it. And of course there's some oaky notes, some vanilla from the American oak that Caol Ila uses. Not so big on the peat as far as in your mouth. It is definitely peated, but a little bit less so. And I'm going to set that down there for a minute. And I'll give myself a little taste of water here. Cleared the palate a little bit. And so this one's been in the glass now, I guess, for around about 15-20 minutes. So let's just compare that. And you get a little bit of a soju note in there. Of course, a good quality soju, something like Ohio, which I hope to review very soon. Soju is Korea's national spirit, distilled spirit. Anyway, a little bit of soju in there. And with time, I'm noticing that on the nose, the vanilla notes start to come in, and it seems like kind of like a vanilla black tea note. You know, so vanilla infused black tea. And there's a certain saltiness that comes through as well. And together with the sweetness, it's kind of like a salt toffee kind of a note, salty toffee note. Let's compare the taste also. It's much rounder with a bit of time, and also the mouth feels a little bit more oily. It really coats the mouth very well. As for the finish, Neat. It's dry. It's a little bit peppery. There's a bit of an unripe pear note that comes through, and the finish is well, it's pretty long, and it seems that the Islay whiskies all tend to have a very long finish, partially from the just the intensity of that peat smoke, and the sweetness from some of the cask that they're using. Anyway, so let's add a little bit of water to 20 milliliters. I wouldn't want to add very much, so I'm just going to add about 3 milliliters there. And the one, I'll put some in both. There we are. And let that incorporate itself into the whiskey. And let's see what we get here now. There's a bit of a clove note that comes through. For the Catholics that are watching, there's during Mass there's a certain incense in a metal container. I don't know what it's called, but that the priest will sort of shake about in the lead up to Easter, and it's got a sweet smoky smell to it, and that's what I'm getting here. Definitely caraway also, and that seems to, I mean, for me, that just seems that peaty whiskies from Islay with water, I'm always getting this caraway note and rye bread that I've mentioned before. Dark toast. And the vanilla is a little bit less prominent. The floral notes are still there. And let's check out the taste now. And what comes through is honey, some honey, and a slight mild chocolate note, and it's still quite dry, and with some of the oaky vanilla notes in there on the palate. In the one that's been breathing a little bit longer, pretty much identical nose. The peat is dissipating a little bit with time. And it seems to have hit sort of the peak moment there. The combination of the dryness, the honey flavors, that touch of mild chocolate in there, really hits its stride, it seems, with about 20 minutes in the glass. And the finish, a little bit different with time and with water. That's the newer one. With time and water, there's a lot more herbal notes in the finish. So we swallow that, then you get some flavors coming through, and well, I had to look up the name of this thing, but at Indian restaurants, at the end of the meal, on your way out, you may be presented with a mixture of herbs and salt and rock sugar, and it is called. Well, I've written it down. It's quite too far away there. Mukwas, maybe. I'm not sure of the pronunciation. It's a mixture of fennel seeds, anise seeds, some sugar and salt, maybe a bit of wintergreen oil, and you put that in your mouth and you chew it after the meal to freshen your breath. Please try it the next time you go out for Indian. And bay leaf. I'm also getting a little bit of a bay leaf note. So quite herbal, and again, very long-lasting finish. So let's go through the marks for Caol Ila first. I'm giving this 85 out of 100, and I think it's well deserved. This could probably hit a 90 with maybe a higher ABV and a little bit more natural presentation. Sorry, Diageo, but I really feel that this would be much, much better, and it would hit more of the high notes in the bottle there with just that little extra oomph from the distillery. Okay? Anyway, so 80 out of 5. That's the Whiskey Whistle score for Caol Ila 12-year-old. All right, so let's get on to talking a little bit about this distillery. First of all, location. Again, this is on the Isle of Islay. And let's see where we are with the pictures here. We'll go through those first. This is David Wood. He is the current distillery manager with Caol Ila. And there's the bottle that we were working with today, the 12-year-old. We'll go through that in a minute. And okay, so here is Scotland. And again, Islay is right down towards the bottom on the west side. And here is Islay blown up a little bit. And this is Jura. So right around there on Islay, very close to Jura, is where we find the distillery. And these are the regions of Scotland according to malts.com, which is a Diageo. Oh, that went by too fast. We'll get back to that. Anyway, that shows the all the different regions in Scotland. Here's the distillery itself and the still room. And then we'll be back to Mr. David Wood again. He's been with Caol Ila now since 2013, when his predecessor, Billy Stitchell, retired, who had worked for the company for 40 years and was also a fourth generation family, well, in his family anyway. He was the fourth generation to work for, I believe, for the distillery. I could be wrong on that one. Anyway, okay. Didn't look at the box so much yet, so I'll just show that up there for you. And I'm going to read that for you. Fresh, sweetly fruity, and smooth-bodied, Caol Ila 12-year-old is as rounded and clear as the shapes of the stillroom, glimpsed by hazy shafts of sunlight glancing through the morning cloud. Caol Ila Distillery, Portaskeg, Isle of Islay. 43%, 1 liter. And on the back side here, each expression of Caol Ila reflects a special quality of the light at this remote Islay distillery, where sublime malt whiskies have been made for over 160 years. Together they picture a day in its secret cove on the Sound of Islay. The smoothness and fine balance of Caol Ila 12-year-old suggests the rounded shapes of the stills, softly outlined in a cloudy day's first glimpse of the sun. Fresh and fruity is a classic expression of the Caol Ila character, first seen in 1846. Here are those spicy sea air aromas and sweet smoky dry flavors, elegantly expressed with a clarity and balance that comes from perfect maturation. Age 12 years. Drink responsibly, as we always should. Malts.com. Have a look at the website again. That's malts.com, and you can read a little bit about Caol Ila and its products there. Anyway, so again, I mentioned it was Portiskeag, 1846. This distillery puts out 3.5 million liters of pure alcohol per year. So that is big production. I mentioned it's close to the Isle of Jura. So actually, Jura Distillery is very close in proximity to Caol Ila, and likewise Bunnahabhain, which is just slightly to the north of Caol Ila, is also quite close. So there's quite a concentration of distilleries right in that small area of Scotland. So 1846, it was founded by Hector Henderson, I believe was his name. It changed hands a lot and was in fact one time owned by the same company, same person that owned the Isle of Jura distillery. So interesting connection there. And 1972, the distillery was demolished and rebuilt, I believe with replica stills. They might have been the same, but I do believe they were replica, so made exactly to the same specifications, which should hopefully provide the same spirit, the same new make spirit when it comes out of the still. And well, I mentioned the Diageo connection, and Johnny Walker is, well, that's the biggest selling Scotch brand in the world. Huge brand, also owned by Diageo. And Caol Ila is one of the base single malts that goes into the Johnny Walker Black label. Likewise, the green label, along with Talisker, in fact. And anyway, so those smoky flavors and some of the sweetness in Johnny Walker Black and green labels comes in part from Caol Ila, so that's quite interesting. Anyway, I think that's about all I need to mention about this outstanding Islay single malt from Scotland. Anyway, again, thanks so much for watching. For the Koreans who are in the audience watching today, watching any day, please have a look at the Naver blog. Okay, so just look for Whisky Whistle in one word, Whisky Whistle. And what else? You can also, for the English-speaking audience, have a look at the website. It's just in its formative stages. I've got links to all of the reviews there. I'm going to be adding some new information, some new elements on there very soon. And well, wherever you are, I hope you have a fantastic Whiskey Wednesday, which is today. Fantastic, I should say. And again, thanks for watching. I'm Mark, and thanks for tuning in to Whisky Whistle. We'll see you again.